Currently, our unassigned fund balance is $6.2 million, and our adopted general fund expenditures are $37.248 million. This leaves us with an excess of $1.55 million that must be applied to the city and its citizens. The Commissioner of Finance is required to make a recommendation in the case of an excess or deficiency. In doing so, it's important to keep in mind that using fund balance in an annual budget can have multiple and long-range impacts. Like other one-time resources, it is best used to offset one-time expenditures and/or expenses which do not result in recurring operating costs. The city's fund balance policy reflects this best practice and requires that it be used for one-time expenditures and/or expenses which do not result in recurring operating costs. It can also be used to set up reserve funds. For Saratoga Springs, the difficulty is that we have an operating budget which has been scaled back over the past several years, and the city now finds itself in an often difficult situation to provide essential city services to its citizens. At the same time, we have an excess fund balance that we are not allowed by policy and best practice to use towards our operating expenses. My recommendation regarding the unassigned fund balance will include provisions to address these issues. I will recommend to the City Council to save funds for the taxpayers and invest funds for the taxpayers. As for reserves, I have suggested publicly that a percentage of the funds be set aside in a retirement reserve. We have large unfunded liabilities for retirement costs, and retirement reserves are highly recommended by auditors, bond rating reviews, the state, and the GFOA. However, investing in reserves is not the only thing we should do with our reserve balances, because our reserve balances are high right now, and our operating and capital needs are unmet. I have also suggested publicly that we review our capital and infrastructure needs, much of which have been delayed to the point of crisis management. For example, last year's water treatment plant project had to be doubled to $1.6 million to deal with 40 years of decay that had not been addressed. This was delayed to the point of crisis. For another example, and this should resonate with many Saratogians who have had to avail themselves to this service, our city police department is crumbling over their heads as well as beneath their feet. And I literally mean that. The floor is caving in and the ceiling is caving in. If we cannot put this money back, if we cannot put police back on the streets with this excess funds, we can at least correct the space and tools with which they have to work. I will be speaking with each department to discuss capital and infrastructure needs, as well as hear from my fellow commissioners on all their recommendations.